Warriors, welcome to Monday night, God's Prepared Warrior Roundtable Live. I'm excited that you guys are here with me tonight. And boy, do we have a topic for you tonight. I'm super excited. Thank you for joining me tonight on all three platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on TikTok over here. I am excited that you guys are here with me. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. I see the traffic is already flowing over here on YouTube. Everyone is saying hello. Hello, Salt Mist. Hello, Lucifer Lucero. How you doing, my friend? And thank you guys for joining me. All of you over here on TikTok, thank you for joining me there. So I'm excited for tonight, guys. So I think we're gonna let's talk about the channel, right? Let's do what we always do. Let's talk about the channel, because the channel is not about me; it's all about you guys. That's what I say every time. This channel grows because of you, and it's not because of me. I'm just here to kind of share what my journey is in preparedness, what I'm learning, and what I'm doing, and I'm just excited to share that with you guys. We're a small channel. If the Lord blesses us to be a big channel one day, praise the Lord. If not, it's you and me. It's you and me, and that's what we're doing. So awesome. So I'm excited that you guys are here with me tonight. Hopefully you guys can hear me on YouTube. I haven't got any 5x5s yet. So hopefully you guys can hear me. But I'm going to share the channel news. Our YouTube channel continues to grow. This week we grew by 2 people, 2 new subscribers, which is great. And we're sitting at 644 subscribers on YouTube. TikTok, we are at a whopping 3,249 people who like our TikTok page. All you TikTokers out there, you guys are blowing YouTube out of the water. Thank you guys for following the channel over there. On TikTok, we actually had 10 new subscribers over on TikTok. So I'm excited about that. On Facebook, we are sitting at 153. I think we gained 1 new person there. I didn't check the community page. I forgot to check that page, but we do have a community page. It is called God's Prepared Warrior Community on Facebook. So check that out. Make sure you go there and like that page. Instagram, we have had 11 new subscribers on Instagram this week, which is great, which brings us superseding Facebook at 386 new subscribers there. And on X, we are still sitting at 971 people. So yeah, go figure. That's crazy. But you know, TikTok over here is completely blowing YouTube out of the water. So guys over here on YouTube, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hey KP, he says greetings from Louisiana. It's good to see you, my friend. Welcome to all of you that are coming in right here on TikTok. And so all of you new folks, my name is Fernando. I am God's Prepared Warrior, and my channel is a preparedness channel that concentrates on physical preparedness, right? All the things that you hear other prepping channels talk about, but we also talk about prepping in a spiritual sense also. And hey, Robert Campos, good to see you, my brother. We talk about faith and preparedness and how those two things work together and work in tandem. And so if you are a follower of Jesus, you're a Christian, you're whatever, you're Catholic, you're whatever you are, and you love God, and I hope that this channel is for you. I am a pastor. I am a chaplain, and so I do a lot of things in the community. I work at a nonprofit, and so yeah, I love to encourage people. So guys, welcome to the channel today. I'm excited. Let's talk about things that are happening in the news. Number one thing that has happened, we all know, and I know all you guys know that the Pope has passed away, and he went early in the morning. He went home to be with the Lord, and he had a stroke and a heart failure at around 3 o'clock this morning. So let's keep his family in prayer, and we just pray that God would continue to bless his family and give them peace. And he was 88 years old, and so he is now um, getting prepared for his funeral. Cardinal Kevin Joseph Farrell, who was the bishop of the Catholic Diocese in Dallas, is now in the temporary position of Pope to lead the Catholic Church. And so let's keep that man in prayer, and that God uses him in a mighty way to do good for the Catholic community. So let's keep praying for his the Pope's family in their time of loss, and that God would give them peace. Other things in the news: Trump stands behind Hegseth after the attack plans were shared yet again on on what was the name of that Signal, on the Signal chat. So Trump says that Heggs is doing a great job, and so he's standing behind him. And we all know that Heggs has shared sensitive information regarding the attacks or the battle plans or the war plans, right, for all of these places. And so now this second Signal chat has come out, but Republicans are not calling for him to step down or anything. They're kind of backing him up. So, hey Cedric, welcome to the live chat on Facebook. Thank you for joining me, brother. Good to see that you're here with us. Thank you guys for joining us over here on TikTok. You guys are continuing to come in. It's good. I'm glad y'all are here. So yeah, they're not calling for him to step down. And again, President Trump is standing behind him and continues to say that he's doing a great job. So it's funny because not too long ago, it was, and I actually even posted a video on TikTok, and well, of course, I posted on all my social media, but I usually always post it there on TikTok first. But I posted a video talking about how the FBI was wanting us to move away from our texting apps that we use on our phone, right? That come with our phone, and they wanted us to go to something more secure, right? And they mentioned Signal, they mentioned WhatsApp, and all this stuff. And so now, it's been authorized to use it there at the White House, and all of a sudden, information gets leaked out. So, what are you to do, right? What are you to do? I'll just say we got to trust in the Lord every time we hit send on our phone, right? So that's in the news. Another thing that came out in the news here in Texas, there was a house that exploded in Austin, Texas. I used to live in Austin with my uncle at one point, and then I lived in Pflugerville and Round Rock, in the Round Rock area. And so I'm glad I moved from there. But anyway, I love Austin. It's cool. You won't have grocery bags at the store. You have to bring your own. I thought that was weird. But anyway. Going back to the story, this house exploded there in Austin, and this was maybe 2 weeks ago. And today, they came out with the information of why this house exploded. And so it took them a whole week to figure out that there was a propane leak in the house. And so that's what blew up the house. Officials say that the boom from that explosion, could be heard from Cedar Park, Texas, all the way to Georgetown, Texas. That's actually pretty far if you know the Texas area, and actually there's a lot of buildings and stuff from Cedar Park to Georgetown. So, I mean, if that was must have been a big boom. So, if it could be heard in that far. So, guys, I always look at this stuff and I think, well, what about my house, right? Make sure you're looking at those things. Make sure you're taking time to maybe build a list of what you fixed in your house recently. My wife is always on me about changing the filter in the AC unit and making sure that um, that doesn't get neglected, because that will cause the AC to break and that kind of thing, because we live over here in hot lava during the summer, and the summer is coming. So yeah, so make sure that your house is in order, not just in prepared, well, yeah, in preparedness wise, right? I mean, we do all this stuff to prepare. Why aren't we preparing our home for summer coming up? Why aren't we preparing our home for um, weather related events, right? Um, why aren't we doing those things when we should be, right? It's important to every summer. I'm going to say every spring, right? Because out of the winter, you come out of spring, right? Because you got fall, you got winter. And so if you have gutters on your house, springtime is the best time to get up there and clean those things out, because then you got the rainy season coming, right? So you want to make sure those are clean and clear and all that good stuff, right? So, I always look at things like this, and I always put myself in that person's shoes, and do I have a gas leak, right? Have I gone to the side of the house where the gas main is and checked the gas main, right? Make sure there's no leak there, right? Um, you know, Wires that are connected, the electricity, right, to the house. Is everything right and in order? And so just think about those things. Think about how to keep those things topped off, right? Just like we do with our preps, right? Um, Thank you guys for hitting the like button. Thank you, Salt Miss, for doing that. So yeah, so and Lucifer, thank you for hitting the like button. So yeah, so just check your homes. Make sure your homes are in good order, because you don't want that to happen. They had a propane gas leak. So yeah, so make sure you're checking that out. All right, I'm gonna show you something, guys. I told the TikTok crew over here, if they want to see this picture that I'm about to show y'all, everybody needs to go to YouTube right now. It's the if you haven't seen it, if you're new to the channel, it's God's Prepared Warrior action figure. So I'm about to show everybody that over here. Let me move that over. So I would love to see y'all's comments about that. Everybody was doing it, and I'm like, how are they doing this? I tried to figure out, and then I asked someone, and they're like, oh yeah, you just throw it in Chat GPT, and it'll do it for you. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And all I did was I uploaded a picture of me on my radio, and and just told, and it did it for me. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It actually got you know everything down right. The pants are right, the shirt's right. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So anyway, yeah, that was the fun item for tonight. Is making fun of Fernando as an action figure. Shelly says that's awesome. Thanks, Shelly. Um, yeah, so Salt Miss says she loves it. Thank you. One day we'll go to production. One day, I'll make sure the rifle is right though. That looked kind of crazy. All right, so I want to share one more piece of news tonight, and from this piece of news, we're going to move into the topic of the night. And guys, if you're, I'm on this professional citizen um, road, and so I'm wanting to become a professional citizen. And what does that mean? What that means is that I'm not just a regular person. I'm actually learning skills and processes, um, to become that professional citizen. Make sure the Bible is there. That's right, Shelly. You're right. Um, that's the only thing it didn't put in there. Yeah, I'll redo it and make sure that's in there. So yeah, so I want to talk about. I've been learning a lot from the Professional Citizen Project, and so if you guys haven't picked up any, I should have brought those books, but they're in my office. I'll bring them. I'll bring them next week, or I'll do a video on it this week. And it's I've connected with the author, and he sent me some books, and I've been studying them, and it's all about becoming a professional citizen, and what does that look like? So I want to continue this series of talking about being a professional citizen, what that looks like, and how we as God's prepared warriors can incorporate that in our walk, right, with God. So we're going to talk about that tonight, but I want to share this piece of information with you before we move into that. And so just kind of wanted to preface that a little bit. So in El Paso, I don't know if you guys have heard about this young man who I think it was 2019. He was a gunman who went into Walmart and started shooting random people, and his target was Mexican people. And so this gunman is responsible for killing 23 people and wounding 22 others in this mass shooting that he incited in 2019 at a Walmart in El Paso. Now, this link is in the description of the YouTube live tonight if you guys want to check that out later. But he was actually sentenced today or the other day, and he was sentenced to 90 consecutive life sentences. 90 consecutive life sentences. I don't think this guy's getting out. Um, but I want you to hear what kind of rang in my head today when I was following this on the news today, and then when I was reading it from the link. So there's a few key things that stand out to me here. And number one, the word is Walmart. How many of us go to Walmart, right? Um, you know, um, hey, Aaron, welcome to the channel tonight. The live. How many of us go to Walmart? I go to Walmart a lot. My wife goes to Walmart a lot, and this kind of stuck to me today because of that thing. We live down the street from a neighborhood Walmart, right? Neighborhood Walmart is a really small Walmart. And then a few miles down, there's the larger Walmart that we live by. So, this kind of stuck to me today because I find myself at Walmart pumping gas. I find myself at Walmart buying things for the house. Um, you know, and I remember this story of when it happened, and he went inside the Walmart and just began to randomly shoot um, Mexican people. It was that's his aim was. Um, so today or the other day, he was sentenced to 90 consecutive life sentences. And so, I always put myself in the situation and I ask myself, what would I have done in that situation, right? And so, I went to town on this today, and I have a lot of neat things in here I want to share with you guys. And so, if you want to take notes, because I'm going to give an acronym out here in a little bit, you want to write it down. But just if you want to jot down the title for this, it's how to be a prepared citizen when there's an active shooter in your area, right? So I want to dive into this pretty quickly, right? So um, thinking on that story and then the events that have happened last week, right? So was it on April 17th? There was a tragic shooting at Florida State University, right? 20-year-old student opened fire at the student union, resulting in 2 fatalities and 6 injuries, right? That was that incident. So, of course, that campus was on lockdown. Nobody could get in, nobody could get out. Hey guys, um, welcome to TikTok on my channel today. So that was a pretty bad incident. Uh, April the 18th. Um, well, since April the 18th, right, beginning of this year till now, there's been about 81 mass shootings in the United States. Just this year alone, right? 81 uh, instances. I want you to think about that number because you know you talk about rolling the dice, right? Of you being in a situation or near a situation, or maybe it's just in your town, right? I want you to think, right? I'm not here to frighten you in any way. I'm wanting you to become a professional citizen, right? So, these incidents are part of a broader pattern, right? I mean, they underscore what's reality in the United States today, right? I think if you look at the numbers, I should have looked at the numbers, I didn't, but if you look at the numbers, I would imagine that, you know, they continue to grow higher and higher. And so, this is our reality. This is where we are, right? These threats occur and they happen anywhere and anytime. And so, we got to think. I want you guys to think. As God's prepared warriors, we have to be vigilant. We have to be ready to respond. Um, you know, not not out of fear. Remember, we're not doing this out of fear, but with wisdom and with preparedness, right? I'm reminded of Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3, that says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge," right? But the simple keep going and suffer for it. In other words, they really don't pay attention. Um, so, I want to look at this and I want to kind of unpack this today. So, how do we become that professional citizen, right? Well, here's the first thing. And you can go back to my YouTube channel. You can look at this topic because I have, I think, two or three videos on situational awareness, right? So I want to talk about situational awareness and your first line of defense, right? So you need to know your environment. You know, guys, I can't tell you enough how many times I see people with their phones and they're walking into the store, they're shopping in the store, they're driving their vehicle, and they're sitting there and they're doing this, right? um, you're not really aware of your surrounding because you're distracted by your phone. And I don't want to just pick on the phone because that's just the big thing, but there are other things that we're distracted by, right? Whenever we're going to those places. And so I want you to think about everything, right? Whether you're at church, whether you're at the grocery store, whether you're at the mall, whether you're at your kid's school, right? You need to always know, okay? You need to always know where the exits are. You got to know that. In my church, I know where all the exits are. I do. I just know where they are. It's because when I walk into a place, that's the first thing I look for. I know the door that I walked in is exit number 1, right? What are all the other exits, right? Know those exits. Know that when you go into Target, you have one entrance and one exit, which can be either or the other, right? You also have an exit in the back. Most of you probably don't know that, but there's an exit in the back. There's going to be exits on the sides of the building, right? So just know your exits. Know where those things are in the event that something happens where you are, right? So take note of where those exits are. Take note of cover and concealment, right? You can always hide under stuff, right? If you're like in a like, let's say you're at Target, right? You can get in the middle of a rack of clothes and not move, right? You can go to the back room area, hide in a closet, in a broom closet, in a bathroom, whatever, right? Conceal, cover, and concealment. You got to know where those things are, right? Maybe it's you being aware of where security is, right? I know where all the security people are in my church, and there's some that I don't know because they're hidden, right? But I know who they are. They're the ones that follow the pastor around. I see the ones that are uniformed that are out at the front. And so know where these people are. Know where they are. Know where they kind of hang around. I know that, my pastor has a security officer with him at all times. I know what he looks like. They switch him out. So you just kind of have to know, and you kind of got to know where they sit, right? During a service or whatever. I know all of that because I pay attention, right? So look for cover, right? Think about wherever that is, wherever you frequent a lot, look for that cover and concealment, right? So be aware of your exits, be aware of cover and concealment. And then your security personnel, know where they're at, right? Trust your instincts. This is important. You should be able to trust your instincts. Hey, Felix, thank you for joining the live over on Facebook. Thank you for being an awesome guy. Felix is a friend of mine on Facebook, and he is a firefighter. So thank you for your service, my brother. So trust your instincts, because if something feels off, guess what? It probably is. So trust your instincts. Use the ODA loop. I want to talk about this today. So this is why I want you to take notes, because this is important. The ODA loop is OODA, right? This is an acronym. So the ODA loop is a powerful decision-making framework that was originally developed by Colonel John Boyd, a U.S. Air Force fighter pilot and military strategist. It's widely used not only in military and tactical planning, but also in business, emergency response, and personal preparedness, right? Which really makes this a perfect tool for all of you who are God's prepared warriors, and it's important to have. So this is the ODA loop, OODA, right? So the first O stands for observe. The second O stands for um, or orient. The D is decide, and A is act, right? So observe, right? Let's look at that. Be aware of your surroundings. Very simple, right? You should play this in your mind, right? ODA, ODA. Observe, orient, decide, act, right? Observe, be aware of your surroundings. Orient is understand the situation, right? Don't just freak out and run crazy Lily, because you don't know what's happening. You might be running toward the actual thing, right? Um, Not too long ago, this is an example. Not too long ago, there was some cheer thing, I think here in Texas, and two guys started fighting, and they started knocking down stuff, and well, whatever fell sounded like gunshots, caused a panic, and everybody was running. Okay, understand the situation, right? You seconds. I know it takes, and you can't stand there, right? I'm not saying stand there and look around. I'm saying orient yourself to understand the situation, right? D, decide, right? Determine the best course of action, right? This kind of happens in seconds, in split seconds. So observe, be aware of your surroundings, orient, understand the situation, decide, determine the best course of action. And the last one is act, right? Execute the plan swiftly. This means do it. Don't wait. Don't say, "Well, I'm going to run over there and then I'm going to no. You have already made the decision, and now you're going to execute that plan swiftly, right? This is the ODA loop, right? So I would encourage you guys to take that that I've learned and start implementing that in your mind, right? Um, I can, in every place we go, in every restaurant we go to, it's we're my wife and I are creatures of habit, so we don't like we usually frequent the same restaurants because we trust them. They make good food, right? And we're really skeptical. Anyway, you know what I'm saying about where we're gonna go if it's a new place, and we're kind of like, I don't know, right? The kids tell us, look at the reviews, follow the reviews, right? So I kind of have an idea of where all the exits are, and if I have to take cover, if one person comes in this direction, how I can take cover using the table, using other things that are in the restaurant. I think in that way because of me working in prison. That has taught me to think in that way, right? So this observe, orient, decide, and act, this ODA loop, um, these four steps are a continuous thing that should be like in a loop, because that's why it's called the ODA loop. Um, running in your mind of where you are, right? To be aware of your surroundings, to understand the situation, to determine the best course of action, and to execute the plan swiftly. Observe, orient, decide, act. Hopefully, you've memorized it already. So that's important. I thought that would be an important thing to share with you guys today because I learned that recently. And so it's something that plays within my mind periodically wherever we go. So it's a good tool to have, right? So the other thing I want to talk about is, the immediate response. What do you do in that kind of situation, right? What does it look like for you to um, be involved, right? maybe not necessarily in the immediate area. Maybe you're outside the immediate area. Maybe it's in your town, right? What does that response look like, right? Um, maybe it's what to do at the scene, right? You're there. I want you to follow this simple thing. It's called run, hide, fight. Run, hide, fight. And it's that simple. This is something I learned in prison. Excuse me, as a chaplain. And if there was ever a situation that popped off, I was taught to run, hide, fight, right? And we were trained hand to hand fighting in the place where I worked. So we were taught this, right? Run. Run is if it's safe to do it, right? If it's safe to do it, run, right? Identify escape routes. You should have already done that, right? Don't be doing it while you got to run while the situation is happening, because um, yeah, that's that's like a little too late, right? But identify those routes ahead of time. Leave your belongings behind, right? You might say, well, Fernando, you know, I'm a female, I have my purse. I've seen some of y'all's purses and they got everything and the kitchen sink in there, and it could weigh you down, right? Um, so if it's something that's really not important, I will leave it. Your life is important, right? Leave those belongings behind. Assist others, right? It's important for us as professional citizens, because we're not just learning, you know, about evade, right? We're not just learning about run, hide, fight, or how to carry a boomstick, or all that. But we're also learning other things, right? We're learning, maybe you're learning first aid, maybe you're learning all those kinds of things. All of those things come in handy when a situation occurs, and an immediate response needs to happen, right? You have to be there to assist others. I'm going to share a story with you. I was taking my stepdaughter. Well, I was actually picking her up from her father's to bring her back home with me and her mom. And I picked her up at her dad's house. And on the way back, there was a really bad accident with some kids in the car, in one car, a bunch of kids in one car, and the other car was just a lone person. And this person, lone person in this vehicle, hit this other vehicle and took off. Now, this was an ugly accident. We witnessed it with our eyes. And we also witnessed all these kids jumping out of the car hurt because they didn't have their seatbelts on. There was littles in there. And so immediately, me and my stepdaughter responded, and we got off the truck to assist this one girl that came running to us. And so I grabbed her and hugged her because she had this big, huge gash on her forehead, and she was just crying and bleeding everywhere and freaking out. And so I grabbed her and hugged her, and I held her head into my shirt, in my chest here. And my stepdaughter was trying to calm her down, and I started praying over her, and everybody else started helping everybody else here at this scene. And when the paramedics came, the fire department came, they all started getting with all the people. We were kind of a little further away, and so the firefighter came over, and he told me, "Okay, sir, thank you for helping. I have her now." And so, you know, I I gave her to him, and he said, "Wow, how did you know that you needed to compress that wound?" And I said, "Well, I had training, but the first training I learned was to love on people, right?" And so I just hugged her. And so it was my hug that held her wound on my shirt, that it stopped the bleeding. She bled on my shirt, but it in that experience, you know, I learned that immediate response was needed, and me and my daughter stepped in to immediately help this family that was in this accident. So yeah, so you know, assist others in you know, either escaping or helping others who may be hurt or wounded. That's so important. And if you know or have skills, you know, to do that, you're a professional citizen. You can help and assist others in a time of crisis like that. And it's so important because we need people like that in that kind of a situation, right? And it should be like a light switch that just kind of turns on, and you know, you just automatically move into that mode of, you know, what your skill set is, right? Um, so you know, it's important, you know, to be in that kind of a mindset, right? So you know, in this run, right, you should call 911. Once everything is safe, call 911, and bring in the assistance, whether that's fire, whether that's ambulance, whether that's police. All of them will actually probably come. So run, that's run. Hide is escape. Uh, if escape is not possible, hide, right? You know, lock yourself in a closet somewhere, right? Maybe you get behind some kind of barricade, right? Um, get into a room, barricade the door so that nobody is able to come in. Silence your phones, right? Phones will give you away, especially if you got friends that are texting you all the time, or you got all those notifications onto social media. You know, turn your phone, silence your phones and other devices that you may have, so that you can hide well, right? Hide behind large objects, and you know, that can stop bullets, right? Some buildings, they have these huge I beams. If you can hide behind an I beam, I can't hide behind an I beam, they'll see me. But if you can hide behind one, that gives you some protection from bullets and things like that, right? Remain quiet, and do not reveal your location. That's important. So run, hide. Now let's look at fight. Right, fight is a last resort. Right. Let's say you're in a situation. There's a shooter. Maybe there's a person with a knife. Maybe it's just a crazy person in the convenience store. Right. Whatever. The last one is fight. This is your last resort. Right. You know, if you have to fight, use everything at will. I was taught in prison to use your keys, right? You know, you have a key ring on here, and if you put that key ring on like a ring, now you have a bunch of serrated metal that when you land a punch, it's actually going to do a lot of hurt. And they taught us that in the prison because our keys were a lot bigger, but I'm going to tell you, this works too. So you have your keys. Maybe you carry a flashlight of some kind on you, right? Maybe you have EDC, and you carry a flashlight. I carry a flashlight, and I have actually one on almost every one of my bags. I have 3 of my bags here with me, right here in front of me, and each one of them has a light of some kind. And this one has a serrated front. I don't know if you guys can see that serrated front, so that if I needed to fight, I could fight with this flashlight. So you know, use improvised weapons, whether that's a fire extinguisher on the wall, maybe it's some EDC that you carry, maybe it's a chair. You know, it's not just for wrestling, right? Use something, use anything that you have, right? Maybe you're carrying around a selfie stick. Use your selfie stick. Won't last long, but you know, use it, right? Commit to your action. If you're moving into fight, you're fighting for your life. Okay, this is not just a schoolyard brawl. This is fight for your life, right? So commit to your actions and be aggressive. You have to be so aggressive because you either are going to live or you're going to die. And so if you're committing to fight mode, then you have to give it your all. And I've seen so many videos on X of people getting beat up and somebody's just on top of them wailing on them, right? I get it. They're in that position and that's a hard position to get out of. But I was watching a video today and it was two guys. And this one guy at the bottom just getting wailed on by this guy. But this guy is sitting right on top of him and he has access to his hurt area, right? To his less strength area. And all you have to do is pop that boy one time. Yeah, he's rolling off, right? I mean, you have to think in that moment. Yes, you're being attacked, but you need to survive, right? This is the moment that you survive. I always carry a knife on me. Um, you know, even when I go to work, the nonprofit that I work at, I always have a knife on my hip. I have a folding knife in my pocket. And sometimes, if I'm wearing my boots, I have a boot knife on my boot. And so, think about those things that you have on you. An iPad. I have this huge iPad here, and it's not really all that. If I bang somebody with it in the head, using this, it'll break. But if I turn it on the side, this is more rigid. And then it has this metal piece right here that actually will do a lot of damage. So you just got to think about some of the things that you have that you could use um, in that situation, right? So, like I said, I always carry a knife. And, even if it's just one of these little short ones like this, trust me, it'll do some damage, especially if you keep them as sharp as I do. So commit to your actions and be aggressive, right? Aim to incapacitate the shooter, the person that's agitated, whatever, right? Aim to incapacitate them, stop them from what they're doing, right? So, you know, there's going to be an immediate response. And what if you're at that scene? What do? You run, you hide, and if you have to, you fight, right? That's just so important. Um, what if it's happening near you, right? This is the idea of what if it's happening near you. Even if you're not at the scene, number one, avoid the area. Don't go to the scene, right? Don't go there. Um, you know, you don't want to be a potential victim, right? So if you're not in the area, you're not in that scene, don't go there, right? Um, so don't go to the scene. Next thing is communicate wisely, right? Inform your family, hey, you know what? I know that I was supposed to be over there, but I'm not there. I'm actually over here. I stopped to get a soda or whatever, get a snack, and I ended up not being over there. So I'm over here and I'm safe and I'm okay, right? Communicate wisely, inform your family and friends that, of your safety, that you're okay. Maybe you are at the scene, right? Communicate that information. You should be calling 911 first and then maybe communicating with your family. But communicate wisely. Stay informed, right? Monitor all the local news, right? They usually come out with that stuff when it happens, um, and official updates. Um, avoid, stay informed, right? That's staying informed. Avoid spreading rumors, right? So share only verified information. Don't share things that you don't know or maybe heard from third party. Get a reliable source and share the right information. If your parents and this scene is happening at a school, do not rush to the scene. I mean, I understand your children are there, but try your best to, if you're gonna go there, look for an authority figure and let them know that you're a parent. Understand that the school is gonna have lockdown protocols, and guess what? No one is getting in until that situation is taken care of. But keep communication lines open for emergency responders, right? Report it and then let the emergency responders respond to the situation. So Parents, don't rush to the scene. And if you do, don't run into the scene. Look for uniformed policemen, firemen to let them know that you are a parent if this happens on the school. So, you know, this is the scenario if it is happening near you and you're probably not there. So how do you prepare ahead of time for that kind of situation, right? Fernando, I was just going to Walmart. I was just going to go get some bread and some expensive eggs and some soda because that's my favorite. You know, how do you prepare? Well, you should have EDC on you at all times, right? EDC stands for everyday carry. And if you guys seen my sling bag video, you guys know that I carry a sling bag, and my sling bag. See, there's my knife. I have a knife everywhere. I'm telling you. There's my flashlight right here. My flashlight. So I have this. Inside here is my projectile equipment. Right, it's in here. I also have other things inside here that I can use as well. So I carry this with me all the time. Um, my wife's used to me carrying that everywhere we go. And, since I've added to my communications, I also carry the God's Prepared Warrior Frankenstein bag. I also made a video on that. You guys can check that out. And so I have communications. If cell phones go down or you can't use your cell phone, I'm able to communicate via radio. So everyday carry is important. Keep that with you. Like I said, I have it on all of my bags. I carry certain things. So keep those items with you: flashlight, multi-tool, tourniquet, phone charger, you know, legal defense tools. Okay. Keep those with you at all times. I always have them with me. Maybe it's you preparing ahead of time. Maybe it's you taking on new skills, right? As a professional citizen, you're going to need to take on new skills, right? Maybe you need to go to a first aid class. Maybe it's to learn CPR. Maybe it's to learn stop the bleed, right? In your area, I am sure that there are giving those classes everywhere, right? So take on those new skills. To be a prepared citizen, you are taking on new skills that you necessarily don't have, but you're going to learn them in the event that something happens to where you are needed because of your new skills that you have, right? So maybe that's training, and it's learning first aid, and it's learning CPR. Maybe it's stop the bleed. Maybe it's self-defense, right? There's so many here in our city that we live in. There's so many places to learn self-defense. Um, Maybe it's taking a concealed carry um, course to conceal carry your weapon, right? So that way you're able to carry that weapon legally, and you're trained on when to use it, right? So that's prepping ahead of time, right? I would encourage you to know your state laws, understand the regulations regarding defense, regarding carrying defense weapons, regarding emergency response, because there's some laws about emergency response as well. So learn those in your area. That is you becoming a professional citizen, right? Know your state laws, right? What is your family preparedness plan? Designate emergency contacts, right? I did a video with my radio equipment a while back on what our comms plan was, right? What does that look like? What does that look like for me, right? So designate, emergency contacts. Get your family members together, get them involved. This is how we're going to communicate. This is how we're going to move. This is where we're going to go to. This is where we're going to stay in, right? Whatever that is, create that preparedness plan for you and your family, right? Teach your children how to stay quiet. Teach them how to hide. Teach them how to run, right? That's so important. There's a video that came out not too long ago of this family walking down the street, normal family, husband, wife, and kids, and they're walking down the street. This lady comes and stabs the little boy in the face. And, the parents are like awestruck at what just happened. If that was me and my kids, that lady wouldn't have a head on her shoulders. I'm just saying, right? I'm gonna take care of my kids, right? So teach your kids how to stay quiet, how to hide, how to run. That's so important. Establish a code word for emergencies, right? People, I saw that on a movie. No, you need to really do that, right? There's gonna be a time. Just think about it. I said it earlier. There's been 81 instances of shootings, right, in America. 81. What's the lottery pick that you're going to be in that situation, right? Learn emergency codes, and that way, when you say those words to your family members, they understand what they're to do next. Establish that. So important. Hey guys, thank you for joining me on TikTok. So those are all the things that you guys need to have physically, right? Spiritually, as believers, we prepare physically, but we anchor ourselves in the spiritual side of preparedness, right? Psalms 91:4 says, He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge, right? We are to give everything over to the Lord, right? We need to begin each day, right? We got to set up a foundation of spiritual preparedness in our life. We got to begin each day with prayer. We got to begin each day with seeking wisdom from the Lord, right? Whether that's through prayer, whether that's through the reading of His Word. And then we need to seek His wisdom, not our own, His wisdom and His protection for ourselves and for our family, right? We got to begin each day that way, in prayer, seeking wisdom, and God's protection, right? We have to maintain peace amidst the chaos, right? We can't get caught in the whirlwind of chaos that's happening around us. We have to be level-headed, and we have to be calm to provide help and support to others. And so that's just so important for all of us to be doing that. And so do that, right? Maintain peace amidst the chaos. Your calm can provide hope for others, right? Engage in spiritual disciplines, right? Regularly, I'm tired. Regularly reading your Bible, regularly praying, regularly meeting with the community, right? Maybe that's your faith community at church. Maybe that's your family, right? Continue to meet. Maybe that's friends. Continue to meet together. Continue to train together, right? Become that professional citizen together. So have those things with you at all times, right? Warriors, it's not about fear. It's not. It's about readiness. Everything I've talked about tonight well, Fernando, you said, if this is an active shooter situation, yes. Have you ever been in a car accident? That's a situation. Depending on your bank account, that could be an SHTF situation in your life, just a car accident, right? You may not have a car after that. You may not be able to afford one. I don't know. But this is not to bring you into fear. It's to bring you into readiness, right? It's to get you to think about what would I do in that situation, right? Prepared citizens are aware. Prepared citizens are equipped. Prepared citizens are calm under pressure. And then prepared citizens are anchored in with God. And, you know, it for me, right? In that situation, that car accident I shared with you with these little kids, it was me and my daughter kicking into a different kind of mode. It was in a mode of help, right? There were children that were hurting, bleeding and hurting in this accident, and God used us to comfort this one little girl. And you know, it was neat because at the end, the paramedic came back and said thank you for helping. And he said there was an angel. The little girl said there was an angel that was taking care of her. And I'm like, wow, you know, man, that was cool. So you just never know when God is going to use you in a mighty way, right? So be that prepared citizen that's aware, equipped, calm under pressure, and anchored in the Lord. So, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. Um, you know, I'm excited that you guys were here with me tonight to learn all of this. I hope this gave you kind of a perspective of being a professional citizen and getting you ready for any situation that happens or that could happen around you, right? Guys, thank you for joining us on YouTube, Facebook, and on TikTok. I thank you guys for joining me tonight. I'm praying for all of you guys. And so be safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. Stay vigilant. Stay prepared. And I'll see you